Hey everybody, welcome to today's podcast episode. I am thrilled that you're here. In this episode, I want to talk about doing videos and how and when and all of the things around creating videos, because I have a couple of clients right now who are really in the weeds of creating their videos. This is timely for them and perhaps timely for you. So the very first thing is to consider the kind of video that you're creating. A lot of times people confuse sort of social media content that you're producing to attract your ideal customer and the videos that you're creating for your customers as part of the experience, that fulfillment that you're delivering for them. And there are two different styles and two different ways that you approach how you're creating those videos. So I want to dive into that a little bit today and then talk about kind of some of the mechanics of how do you look at them differently. One of the things that I always give my clients advice on in terms of video is the reason that you're creating video is for the person that's on the other side of the camera, right? And when you get hung up on all of the things around video, how you look, how you're showing up, the lighting, the outfit, what are you going to say, all of the things, what's almost more important especially when you get overwhelmed with all of that, is just remembering that your customer or your ideal customer, your prospective customer, whoever it is on the other side of that camera. And so when you are looking at the viewfinder, you're looking at the lens to record, I always recommend just pretend that you're actually speaking to that person one-on-one, having them be right in front of you. If you can do that, it gets rid of all of the crap that may be in your head as you're going through the process of recording your video. And so that's first and foremost, is really think about who your person is and what they're looking for, right? So you're actually having a conversation with them, regardless if it's social media content or it is your customer journey content that you're creating as part of your experience. So first and foremost, think about that. So if you're tripping up on different things, think about that. The second thing I always recommend is, what kind of videos do you like to do? What makes you most comfortable when you are producing videos? Now, I'm going to shift gears, and while I told you that there's two different ways to create videos, one for social media content or drawing in your ideal customer, and one for fulfillment, I'm going to spend the rest of our time today talking about the customer journey in the fulfillment process, right? So the videos that you're creating for your customers to teach them how to go from where they are today to where they want to go, taking your framework and putting it into a training curriculum so that people can consume it, interact with you without it being live, ad hoc all the time. Okay, so that's the kind of video I'm going to talk about from here on out. I'm not going to talk about social media content. So we're putting on our online business expertise hat and creating videos for our customers. So we're going to look at our customers and say, okay, so who is it that we're speaking to? What is it that they need? Where are they on the journey? And that's how we're thinking about this person when we're producing video. Okay, so that's the lens in which we're going to look at the rest of our time today on this podcast. So then the second piece of that is, okay, so then the first hurdle you have is just getting on video. So figure out what you feel most comfortable with. Now, there are a number of different ways you can do that. You could do it direct to camera like I'm doing right now, and you can just see it's just, we're having a conversation, it's direct to camera, there's nothing else around. That's one approach. You can create a PowerPoint deck or a Google Slides deck, I use that term broadly, where then you're teaching from your deck and you have your talking points, you have illustrated visuals that you're using to really bring what you're talking about to life. And then you show up maybe in the corner, smaller, or you go in and out, being on camera or not being on camera based on what you're presenting at that moment in time. Sometimes people feel more comfortable with that because the pressure is off in terms of being direct to camera. So you can use the slides as almost scaffolding for you to remember what you want to say. A lot of times people struggle with, what am I going to say? How do I know how to say it? What happens if I don't say the right thing in the right order? A deck will help you keep yourself organized and on track as you're going through and presenting. The other way you can do it is you can have it be completely off offline in terms of you're not on camera, you don't have a deck, but you're presenting the content in a way that's interactive. So sometimes you can think about it like an interactive workbook or an interactive e-learning where you're guiding people through the experience and they're not watching you like this at all. But that's a little bit bigger of a lift because you have to do a lot of planning and stuff ahead of time. Most people feel comfortable either doing a video like this or using a PowerPoint deck or some other type of teaching tool. You can do an interactive whiteboard. You can write out what you want to talk about as you're going. There's lots of different approaches that you can use. You don't actually have to be direct to camera in this way if it's not your primary mode that you feel comfortable with. So that is definitely, there's lots of options there that you can do. Again, thinking about like your customer and what do they need. If you're talking about a lot of numbers and terms and things comparing to other things and your person may need the visuals to support what it is you're talking about. If you're throwing out 12 numbers, nobody is going to be able to follow along with what you're saying. So that's a great opportunity to use another kind of visual, and then that frees you up from having to be direct to camera. So first and foremost, what do you feel most comfortable with? How do you want to present? And then the other kind of component of that is, what will you actually do? Sometimes people land in that world of analysis paralysis and I want to create a deck. And so then the deck never gets created because it's too complicated and there's visuals and there's all sorts of other things that need to happen. If you're in that camp, you have to get your first iteration out the door. And that's why I always recommend to people, just record. Just get it done so you get it out of your head and into a format that then you can start to work with. If direct-to-camera video like this is not comfortable for you and you want to hit specific points and you aren't sure you're going to be able to do that, use a teleprompter. One teleprompter we love is called Big View, and you put the script in and then the script is right over the camera, and so you're able to just read it and be on camera at the same time. It's super simple, and it helps to get over that fear of what am I going to say, what order am I going to say it in, oh my gosh. So if you're going to go direct to camera, that is a great approach, especially as you're getting started. So that's the very first thing, is like, how do you actually get through the minutia of figuring out how to get on camera? The second thing I always hear is, I don't know, like my hair isn't done, or I don't have the right outfit, or should I hire a videographer? Should I go to a studio? Can I just do it wherever I am? Like, what's the approach there? And from that perspective, I would say, what's on brand for you, right? What is on brand? These are your customers. Your customers are interested in solving the problem that they have, and they know because they've hired you that you have the fastest path to get them there. They're not concerned about production quality and how you're showing up and whether or not you have the same shirt on for 14 weeks, right? Like they're not concerned about those different things, but you want to professionalize what you're doing, right? You want to show up in a professional manner. And so put that on brand for yourself. I have a colleague and he wears a hat every single time he works with his customers. That would be on brand. For him to show up and deliver in a suit and tie with no hat is not on brand for him. So it wouldn't be congruent with who he is as he's teaching his customers. And so he shows up with a hat, right? If you are more formal and you show up and you want full production, you want to be in a studio, you want to have a suit and tie on or a dress or whatever, great. If that's on brand, do that. But you don't have to change your style just because you're creating your videos. For me, I like to show up, I like to be professional, but I like to do it in my own environment. I want people to see that I'm approachable. I know what I'm talking about, but I'm approachable and I'm living the way that I'm teaching. And so for me, that's really important from a congruent standpoint. But I do use slides a lot because that helps me organize the way that I'm presenting. And so again, being consistent, making sure it matches everything else that you're doing from a brand perspective. That's way more important than worrying about all of the nits and gnats of all of the things. Again, most of the time, you just need to get in the game of creating videos that people can use and consume what you're teaching, and then you can always elevate it in the future, right? You can always go bigger, but most of the time it doesn't make sense to over engineer what you're doing, because you're going to change it when you get feedback from your beta experience. You're going to get feedback on the first couple iterations that go out. And so I always recommend just hold off on some of that stuff. But if it matches your brand, go for it and definitely do that. Okay, so a couple of different mechanics around videos that you're creating for your signature experience. These are videos that are going to go into a learning management system and be able to be consumed by people who are either on the computer or on their phone, or however it is that they're consuming the content. So it is different than what you're putting out for social media. Social media is usually like a vertical orientation, like for a story or a reel or something like that. And so a lot of times, even the orientation that you're using to record videos is different, because you are doing horizontal for a learning management system, because there's more real estate that you're filling in that module or lesson that somebody is going through, versus the vertical orientation on social media, which is people are just scrolling through their phone. It's a different experience. It's a different way that people are going through your experience in a different environment, right? Like most of the time, if people are taking a training, they are at their desk or at a table or in a place where they're able to focus and concentrate on what you're teaching. Social media is meant to just be the quick scrolling. Two different purposes, two different ways to produce videos. And so I always try and help people just recognize, put the right hat on in terms of what you're doing. Another thing is audio quality. There are so many great tools now to help do post-production very easily, that it is important to have some good audio quality. Use a microphone, a lavalier mic, your headphones. Use something not just like the surround of the environment, because a lot of times it's just too tinny. But you can put your videos into a tool like Descript, which we actually love as a business. So we used to take hours and hours and days and weeks to edit videos. And now we can put them in Descript. It cleans up the audio quality. It cleans up some of the ums and ahs and all of the things that you tend to do when you're creating video. And it does a lot of other things like transcripts and scrapes out the audio file and all of those different things. So we love those tools for post-production. And it honestly cleans up a lot of sort of the mistakes that you've made as you're creating your video. So just remember that when you are creating your videos, the goal is to get it done. The goal is not necessarily to make it perfect, especially on your first round. So if you are in a place where you're feeling a little overwhelmed with trying to get all the stuff out of your head and into a video, I promise you, if you think about those techniques, they'll help you get moving past some of those blocks that you have. So again, just to review, think about your customer as being on the other end of the camera. That is going to help you. If you literally have to sit down with somebody next to you, you are going to be prepared. You're going to have some key points, and you're going to help them get from whatever it is you're trying to teach them to be able to apply that to their business. It is the very same thing when you're creating a video. So just think about that person on the other end of the camera as they're sitting next to you. Are you giving them everything that they need? Are you focused on them and their experience and helping them through that? That would be the first thing. Second, what is your preference in terms of recording video? What do you need to feel successful? There are a number of different techniques that I gave you to think about in terms of what helps you feel comfortable when you get on video. And then the grace to know that, you know what, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be over-engineered. It just has to get out of your head and into a format that can help your customers. And then you can always iterate later with different versions as you move forward and up the production quality. Your customers need you to show up. They don't need you to wait until everything is perfect, because my friend, you probably won't actually ever do it if it has to be perfect. So go ahead and get started. Use some of these tips and tricks that I shared with you today to be able to get your videos out to your customers in a way that helps them become successful as they're going through the journey, the problem they have to the result that they're looking for using your signature solution. All right, if you need help with this, literally this is what we do every single day, is we help our customers not only have the skills and practice to be able to create what they need to create, they know exactly what needs to go in each video, but we help hold them accountable when this kind of stuff comes up. Because listen, you are not alone if this is your challenge. This is a common challenge, and sometimes you just need someone to encourage you as you're going. If you are looking for help in that way, we have a number of different options. You'll find those in the show notes. But I do encourage you to reach out to me if you ever want to talk about how this could work for you and your business. All right, until next time, have a great week.